Oh, please don't tell. Oh, there we go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. And welcome to Daniel Diaz from Magic Leap. Daniel, obviously this is a technology conference, so you can expect a bit more understanding than an ordinary conference, but let's just go right down to basics. We hear so much about virtual reality, we hear so much about augmented reality. What is the difference?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. I'm Daniel Diaz. I'm the Chief Transformation Officer at Magic Leap. Magic Leap produces an augmented reality headset that's been purpose-built for business. So it is it's a headset that allows you to see the physical world around you and place digital content in that world, integrate that digital content into the world, which is different than VR, which blocks you from seeing the physical world and only allows you to see the digital content. And so for us, there is incredible promise today in the enterprise space. We're looking at really three main use cases in looking at training. We're looking at remote assistance, so someone being able to help you through a task even though they're not in the room with you. And then looking at the visualization of 3D data. And really the markets that are most excited about this and the ones that we see the most promise today are in healthcare, the public sector, or defense market, and then in the manufacturing space.
So in these areas, you really think that this is a game changer. Let's look at manufacturing, because of course, that's one of those industries where you think this kind of technology wouldn't necessarily change much. What do you think will be or are already being the impacts of AR in manufacturing?
Sure. We were with the World Economic Forum recently at a meeting in Detroit with all the automotive manufacturers. And when you ask them what the biggest challenge that they're having in the manufacturing space right now, it's not supply chain, it's not shipping, it's not preparing for the possibility of a recession. The biggest problem that manufacturers are having right now is with people. People retiring from the workforce and taking all that tribal knowledge with them, and then really a difficult time in recruiting young workers into the manufacturing space. That is what is their biggest challenge. And augmented reality is actually the ideal solution for that scenario. We have been able to partner with a company called Manifest, which has created augmented reality training scenarios where you can put a factory worker on the line and train them live while they're there in the physical space where they're supposed to be doing the job with that incredible digital content guiding them along.
So although they're wearing the headgear, we can see the pictures here, is there a human telling them what to do, or is it a robot or AI telling them what to do?
So what they've done here is they've taken all the knowledge from the retiring employees and they've put that into a training module that then the new recruit can put on. So without a trainer next to them, be guided through those tasks. And what we found is that they actually can do training 80% faster when they use the augmented reality device, and that the work product is 25% better. In manufacturing, in this specific scenario, the waste in the manufacturing line went down by 25%, which is amazing for a training scenario. But what was really interesting was that when they introduced Magic Leap into the recruiting process, it became a lot easier to recruit younger people because they saw the job being more high-tech and future-forward. And really interesting was that anybody trained on using Magic Leap was 30% more engaged in their job, and engaged employees stay longer. So not only is it an incredibly efficient training solution, it's also solving for one of the biggest challenges that are faced by manufacturers, recruiting and retaining those young employees.
And also, of course, you mentioned there that it's appealing to the younger demographic, but of course, we've got the other problem with, across so many different industries at the moment, with an older demographic leaving the workforce, and one of the solutions to that presumably is retraining or upskilling. And is that a use that Magic Leap can be put to?
Think about it. That you could take a factory worker and you can make them really good at 3 different jobs in a factory instead of 1. They become much more fungible. So now the employee can do 3 different jobs. So instead of an employer having to shut down a line or slow down because now they have to retrain someone completely from the beginning, they can do this really quickly. The employee becomes much more fungible and much more valuable. And so for the employee, that's incredible because they're more valuable to the employer, they're more secure, and for the employer, they can maintain productivity and an engaged workforce.
And in the manufacturing setups that you have, that it's been used so far, is it all different types of manufacturing?
It's any scenario in the manufacturing space. I look at the kingdom and what's coming here. You see Lucid building a factory here in the kingdom, and having to onboard and train a workforce really quickly, this is the ideal scenario to do that, especially in a place where manufacturing isn't the main driver of the economy. It very well could be if they can get the workforce trained fast enough.
Okay, well, let's look at a completely different sector. Let's look at healthcare. Very different skill set, very different types of employees, but the same product.
Yeah, I think in the healthcare space, what we're seeing is probably the most powerful use of 3D visualization. You think about how medical information and imagery is used now. MRIs are taken, CAT scans are taken, and then doctors look at them in 2D images, slice by slice or on a 2D screen. But those images are 3D, and if you can actually use them in that way, they become so much more powerful. We have a partner called CentiR who has created an incredible solution for cardiac catheterization. So when you catheterize a patient, you put the catheter into a vessel or vein in their body, and you have to guide it up. And the doctor does that looking at a 2D screen while navigating through your body, which is incredibly difficult and not intuitive. With this solution, the doctor inserts the catheter, and a 3D model, you can see it right there, a 3D model of the vessel is created right in front of their eyes. So they guide that catheter looking at it in 3D, in real time, in a model in front of them. And once they reach the heart, they're able to get all the data from the heart, the electrocardiogram. And so when they do an intervention, put in a stent or cauterize a vessel, they can see the immediate impact of what they're doing right in front of them using the device. It's something only really possible with AR. You can't bring VR into the operating room because you can't see the patient in front of you. And it's only something you can do here. And actually, Magic Leap was just certified. We just got a IEC 60601 certification. So it's a lot of numbers, but it's a certification that's valid in, I think, 89 or 90 countries that allows the device to be used inside the operating room. And we're the first device of our nature to be given that certification.
So in a way, what you're seeing here is a doctor, a physician who's got the ability to sort of see round a corner or see above or below something.
They can see from every angle what they're doing. So instead of trying to guide it through in a flat plane, they can see how far they are from the walls of that vessel as they go through. So the accuracy of the procedure is it's so much better. It's going to revolutionize how we think about interventional healthcare. And then you think about the size of the device, how small it is and compact and portable, and being able to take a device this powerful with the diagnostic capabilities and the interventional capabilities it has into the field, away from a clinic or a hospital, to be able to deliver better quality healthcare through a mobile device like this, really.
And for many of us, this seems like, a video game. That's, it's that sort of technology, but I suppose you can use it in so many different. We've talked briefly about manufacturing, we've talked about healthcare, but presumably the potential is endless.
It is endless. I think one of the things we really have to do is focus, because you can think about a million different ways to use this technology. You could imagine 101 ways for each one of the things that you could do, but we are hyper-focused on three things. It's really training, the remote assistance, and then that visualization of 3D data. Any real application that's going to have value today is going to be some combination of those three things, and that's where we're seeing the market really come to Magic Leap for.
So obviously you're saying the potential is endless, but presumably at this stage there are some barriers to adoption. There are some issues to think about from the other angle.
I think for enterprise, we've never had a moment where there are fewer barriers to actually entry. We've got incredible hardware platforms. I think the content ecosystem has finally reached a critical mass where we can deliver true value to them. But that'll be the thing that really has to evolve. I think that as the content ecosystem gets bigger and bigger, you'll see a faster and faster adoption rate with the technology. On the consumer side, I think what you're looking at is really seeing those devices come down in size. You're going to need to see smaller form factor, more compute power, smaller batteries. That'll come in time. I think as more and more people bring these devices to market, it'll also speed up adoption. But AR is difficult. It's not easy to do. It's really the optics. It's so incredibly difficult to create the optics that allow you to see these digital images in the physical space. And you can see that a number of companies have pushed their launches of their devices out because it's really hard. And we've seen it because so many companies have now come to Magic Leap looking to leverage the IP we have in our optical stack and the manufacturing plant that we have in the US to help speed them along. We've actually just signed 2 contracts with big technology companies who are looking to speed up their own AR roadmap by using Magic Leap technology and our manufacturing to get their optics off the ground.
But presumably, with that desire for speed and desire for the next iteration and the next iteration comes its own risks.
Sure, I think there's always risks involved with investing in new technologies, but time and time again, we've seen that those who invest early and get the biggest competitive advantage. You look at e-commerce, mobile, cloud, the first movers always get the outsized rewards in these situations. We are entering in probably the biggest wave of digital transformation we'll ever see as we move into spatial computing, the metaverse, and the moment to invest, the moment for AR is really right now. If you want that competitive advantage, this is the moment for AR.
Okay, so we've talked about the training, which makes perfect sense, particularly as you said, post-pandemic. You know, every economy in the world has got a real people problem and a training problem. Makes perfect sense. Healthcare, really exciting. Can completely see that. What do you think will be next in the next couple of years?
We're seeing a whole bunch of things come in. So you think about the visualization of 3D data. So architectural engineering will be, as you can pre-visualize entire spaces. So imagine being able to take a client through the redesign of a skyscraper with never having built anything. You can see it all laid out in front of you, walk around it, and it reduces the amount of times you have to rework and the delays it takes to actually get a design finalized. I think construction and engineering is huge. There's the ability to upload. So many municipalities, cities have all the data of where everything is buried, every sewer line, every water line, every power line, every gas line. And when you go to develop a huge parcel of land, you need to see where all of that is. And typically you call in a surveyor and they have to mark it down, and then you have to carefully navigate that with equipment so you don't disrupt any of the infrastructure. With Magic Leap, you could slip it on, and the operator has X-ray vision into the ground. They can see all of that in front of them in real time, and there's no need for all that extra work or having to make sure you're maintaining this grid. It's just there for you persistently all the time. So we'll see more and more of those types of use cases that really tap into that 3D data.
I love that idea of being able to see under the sidewalk or the pavement, as I would call it. I mean, one of the biggest bugbears in local government in London is the fact that they're always digging roads up to mend a cable, and then they put it all back together, and then 2 weeks later they're digging it up to fix the water pipe, where they could have done it at the same time if they'd had joined up thinking.
Sure, I mean, you think about connecting that infrastructure to IoT and getting data feeds into the device, you can begin to use it in a command center. You can begin to see all the issues that are going on with infrastructure, with data feeds, and you'll be able to see under the ground exactly where those pain points are, and you won't have to be digging up and randomly looking for those spots.
And these are all business uses that we're talking about. What about consumer usage?
I think that's the thing that has to develop. The consumer market will come when two things happen. One, the form factor is something that consumers will want to wear, but more importantly, that the content and the solutions that are available to them bring real value. Enterprise is happening now because there are solutions that can deliver real value to businesses today. When that happens for consumers, you'll start to see that speed up as well.
And are you seeing any indication of what that consumer desire might be? Because, of course, we've had many over the last 10, 15 years, all sorts of ideas that didn't take off for exactly the reason you've said, because actually people could easily live without it. So what might be a thing that people will decide, this I really need in my life?
Yeah, that is the silver bullet question. Like, what is going to be the killer app that's going to do it? And I don't have an answer for you. I can't pretend to know what that would be. But
I wonder if education, just going back to another area.
Building on what we can do right now, absolutely. Training, education. I mean, entertainment is actually a really interesting one. You think about the consumer space and devices like ours, the ability to completely transform a physical space without having to put a single nail into build anything, being able to completely reimagine scenarios. We have something that we call location-based experiences, where you can transform an entire auditorium like this into a completely different environment. Same technology we use to train first responders and defense, and as we manipulate a room to make it into completely different scenarios, you can do the same thing for entertainment purposes.
And just thinking about how much things have changed over the past few years with the pandemic, people working from home, that desire to be in the same room or even in the same region or country has waned a lot. Presumably that has helped with people thinking, I don't have to be in the same room as you, and I could be using augmented reality.
The more we can create that feeling of connection of two people in the same space and give them those tools to collaborate, that is really going to be what what lights up augmented reality. We have so many communication platforms, and if I just want to have a conversation with you, we can pop onto any number of them. But when we want to collaborate together and figure out how to work on something, design something together, that's when augmented reality becomes really incredibly powerful, because we can both be working on the same model while we're on 2 different continents and sharing that with other people who are also not in the room with us.
It's so interesting because I can remember a number of years ago doing a session similar to this at a tourism conference. And one of the things they were very concerned about was that virtual reality and augmented reality might replace tourism, that people would decide that they could stay at home and experience the pyramids or whatever it might be from home. And of course that has not happened, because the experience is still there, and partly because people decided that the Instagrammable nature of a lot of these places was actually encouraging people to travel.
Absolutely. I think it could be a great tool for introducing people to new places and helping them get excited about going. I think once you're there, augmenting those experiences with digital content that can walk people through history and point out different things while they're walking through the physical space would be incredibly powerful.
Yeah, so like a guided tour.
Exactly.
Once you're there.
So instead of having an earphone do it as you go to the museum, imagine having it come to life in front of you with digital content. Those will be powerful use cases in the consumer space when we get there.
Well, amazing. It's a really, really exciting project, and we wish you all the best. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please give Daniel Diaz from Magic Leap a round of applause? Thank you. Thank you very much.